21st, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. The prayer will, please silence all your cell phones and electronic devices. The prayer will be by our planning director, Scott Ankerson. The Pledge of Allegiance will be by Councilman George of Ward 1. Please stand.
Father God, we bow before you tonight. We give you honor, praise, and thanks, Lord. Thank you for your presence here tonight. We ask that you give us wisdom and unity tonight as we do city business. God, we ask that you keep your hedge of protection around our first responders, God. Continue to keep our city employees and all the citizens here in Gautier safe, Lord. And we thank you, first of all, God, for your Son, Jesus Christ, his sacrifice on Calvary's cross for our sins. And we ask all this in his name. Amen.
Please join me for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilman College, and thank you, Mr. Ankerson. That brings us to agenda order of approval by our city manager, Ms. Shancy.
Yes, Mayor. Consent agenda item number 5, the order should read carried point vote. And then I need to add consent agenda item number 11, which is approval to apply for Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund grant for additional restrooms at Town Commons Park. I need to add consent agenda item number 12, which is approval to submit an application to the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund for concessions building at Town Commons Park. And I need to add consent agenda item number 13, which is approval to submit an application to the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund for Bob Hayes Park Playground.
Thank you, Ms. Shancy. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda order, adding those changes and adding the consent agenda items?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Gilat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. Any discussion? All in favor? Councilman College? Aye. Motion carries. That brings us to our announcements by our city manager, Ms. Shancy.
Our Tasty Thursday will be February 23rd, starting at 11 a.m. at the former Singing River Mall property. We also have Gautier Senior Center's Paint Party, which is February 28th from 1 to 3 p.m. And our City of Gautier Easter egg hunt will be March 25th, beginning at 6 p.m., followed by movie night featuring Rumble at 7 p.m., located at the former Singing River Mall property.
Thank you, Ms. Shancy. That brings us to our presentation agenda. Do we have anybody here that is to receive the Arbor Day Proclamation with Garden Club or anybody? No. City of Gautier Proclamation for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of businesses areas, and beautifies our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, be it enacted by the City of Gautier, Mississippi, do hereby proclaim February 24th, 2023 as Arbor Day and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and to plant trees and gladden the heart and promote the well-being for this and other generations. In testimony whereof I have given under my hand and the seal of the City of Gautier, Mississippi, this the 24th of February 2023, Casey Vaughn, Mayor. That brings us to our business agenda. Business agenda item number 1, approval of a resolution requesting local and private legislation authorizing the governing authorities of the city of Gautier, Mississippi to enter into a public-private partnership agreement with Unlimited Play for construction of an inclusion playground by our city manager, Ms. Yancey.
Yes, Mayor, as you know, we have submitted a Gulf Coast Restoration Funds project for this inclusion playground. This local and private was suggested by the Mississippi State Auditor's Office. There is no provision for design build or a public-private partnership, and you need to submit this local and private to the legislature. Once approved, it will lay the legal groundwork for you to go forward with that partnership.
Okay. Do we have any public comments regarding this agenda item? Do we have a motion by council to approve the resolution requesting the local private legislation authorizing the governing authorities of the city of Gautier, Mississippi to enter into a public-private partnership agreement with Unlimited Play for construction of an inclusion playground?
So moved.
We got a motion by Councilman Anderson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. Any discussion, starting with Councilman George?
Don't we need to get Adam? Okay. Adam?
He's on.
Okay. Brent's problem.
Okay.
No comment.
Councilman Jackson.
No comment.
Councilman Gillard.
This is the deal where the guy is gonna also give us money to the tune of,
$200,000.
$200,000.
We got a $200,000 private donor in addition to the request for the remainder from the Gulf Coast Restoration Fund.
now, once we submit this resolution to, what we
The
gotta go to,
legislature.
do they have to make a bill or just
The
approve
bill is
this?
attached, so
Okay.
I'm sending one to a senator and one to John Reed.
John Reed.
And then it will go to the local and private committee, and I believe Mr. Barton, Manley Barton is the chair. And then once it's adopted, signed by the governor, but it's local and private legislation specific to Gautier.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman College.
No comments.
Okay. Councilman Anderson.
Oh, yes, what would be the total amount for this playground at this point?
1.4 total, so it's $200,000 private donor, $200,000 from the city, which is the concrete work, and $1 million from Gulf Coast Restoration Funds or just any state funds that we get, but that's what we submitted.
So a playground is gonna cost 1.4 million?
Yes, sir.
This is going in between the two lakes at the Town Commons Park, in that,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The reason it's so expensive is because it is an inclusion playground and it has to be built. The whole point of it is to be built so that any child that is on the spectrum or has special needs, whether that be wheelchair or autism or any other special need, it has to accommodate all special needs plus any needs of a normal child. The idea is all children can play together. They've done a couple of these. The only one that I know of in the state of Mississippi is in Picayune, and it's not near this large or nice, and it was $694,000. So they are not cheap. They've done one in Metairie, they've done one in Wisconsin, one in Missouri. This is really a rarity in Mississippi, and I think it's also a big tourism draw because they were saying that the one they built in Metairie, people drive 2 hours just to bring their children to it.
it does sound awesome. Is the design complete on ours? Or no?
Yes, sir. They've all, Unlimited Play already designed it. The equipment is custom. It is not something you just go buy pre-made.
Yeah.
It's custom designed and made so that it will accommodate every type of child.
Okay. Only other question is, one of the ponds, and I know I've brought this up several times, looks terrible because the Corps of Engineers has said that we can't clean it out.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to talk about that later, us going to the Corps, but this, this beautiful playground is gonna be where a pond looks stagnant, full of old grass and stuff growing up. It looks terrible. So we need to address that with the Corps on cleaning up.
Actually, they're still designing the actual grounds part of it, but the landscape architect actually has the idea of turning that into a wetlands discovery area. And Scott and I can, like, where you can walk out and kind of see the different animals. Scott and I drove out there today, and there's some beautiful white egrets and some blue herons sitting out there. So, I mean, it does have a lot of pretty wildlife, and I think that would give the park some character as well. So when those concepts come into fruition, where they're in something you can look at, I'm sure we'll be bringing that to council.
That would be good, but right now, birds standing in what it looks like right now still is not pretty.
Yeah.
And that's my idea. Okay, I think that's all I have.
Councilman Elvin?
No comment.
Thank you, Ms. Chancey, for your hard work, and it is an economic driver, as we heard from the people in Louisiana, and on the state level said they had already heard about the place in Louisiana, so that means people are looking at that concept. And when we have residents that are having to go, even for a small piece of equipment, to our sister city to use that we don't even currently have in our city park, I think it shows we definitely have a need for that. And we do have a school district who really works with the kids on the spectrum, and it would give the school district somewhere to take those children. We have a motion by Councilman Anderson, a second by Councilman George. All in favor? Councilman College?
Aye.
Motion carries. Councilman College, do you have to get off the call, or are you going to be able to stay on?
I'll continue on, please.
Okay. Business agenda item number 2, consideration of a conditional use major permit that would allow a church in a C3 highway commercial zoning district at 1017 Della Point Road, Gautier, Mississippi, GPC number 23-02-CU, PID number 818-31440.001 by Planning Director Mr. Scott Ankerson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Planning Department has received a request from East Bridget, God's Church Global Training Center, for this conditional use major that would allow the church in the C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District. And the application fee is $250. It's paid on December 19, 2022, and all public notice requirements have been met. This is approximately 0.39 acre parcel, existing building on the property. It previously was a church at one time. It's gone vacant, and so it lost its grandfathering. To meet our ordinance today, they would need to gain this conditional use permit for council to have it as a church again. So that's why we're here tonight. I've included the review criteria for a major conditional use as outlined in the GDO. And the recommendation from the Planning Commission is they recommend the City Council approve the conditional use major as presented because it meets all the criteria for approval required by the UDO. So the City Council may approve the conditional use major, approve the conditional use major with changes, or deny the conditional use major. I've also included the complete packet for your review. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to.
Thank you, Mr. Ankerson. Do we have any public comments on business agenda item number 2? None. Do we have a motion by council to approve a conditional use major permit that would allow a church in a C3 highway commercial zoning district at 1017 Della Point Road, Gautier, Mississippi, GPC number 23-02-CU, PID number 818-31440.001.
So
A motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a second?
second.
Second by Councilman Glut. Any discussion, starting with Councilman Elvin?
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson?
No discussion.
Councilman College?
No comments.
Councilman Glut?
No comment.
Councilman Jackson?
No comment.
Councilman George?
No comment.
I'd just like to thank them for investing in our community to open the church. Everybody needs to have options. It don't matter your religion, because every denomination is important. So we thank you all for investing in our community. We have a motion by Councilman Jackson, a second by Councilman Glut. All in favor? Councilman George, College?
Aye.
Motion carries. That brings us to business agenda item number 3, consideration of a conditional use major permit that would allow a medical cannabis dispensary in a TCMU Town Center mixed-use zoning district at 3300 Ladner Road, Gautier, Mississippi, GPC number 23-03-CU, PID number 824-36055.150 by Planning Director Mr. Scott Ankerson.
Thank you, Mayor. Planning Department has received this request from Donna Ryan, doing business as Dolphin Days, for a conditional use major that will allow medical cannabis dispensary at the Town Center Mixed Use District at 3300 Ladner Road. The application fee of $250 was paid on December 27, 2022, and all public notice requirements have been met. This is approximately a 0.63 acre property, the existing building on the property. The existing or previous land use was a doctor's office. The comprehensive plan's future land use designation for this parcel is town center. I've included the criteria for approval for major conditional use once again in your packet for your review. Upon hearing this, the Planning Commission recommends that the City Council approve the conditional use major with changes. The changes are that the operating hours are from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and that the applicant adheres to the stipulations in her proposal or narrative as submitted. The City Council may approve the conditional major with changes, approve the conditional major as is, or deny the conditional use major. So I've also included the full packet in your memo. If you have any questions, I can answer them. Also, applicants very much.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Do we have any public comments on business agenda item number 3? Any public comments? No? Do we have a motion by council to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation of a conditional use major permit that would allow a medical cannabis dispensary in a TCMU Town Center mixed-use zoning district at 3300 Ladner Road, Gautier, Mississippi, GPC number 23-03-CU, PID number 824-36055.150.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Gilat. Do we have a second?
Mayor, just briefly, Councilman Glass, are you moving to approve the recommendation of Planning Commission with the stipulations?
That's what
Yes.
I made.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he said.
You read it all.
I read it as accepting the Planning Commission's.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Do we have a motion and a second?
In a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman George. Any discussion, starting with Councilman Nelson?
To avoid any conflict or appearance of conflict, I'm going to abstain from this vote as it relates to this business venture. There's people that are involved in this business venture that has been my physician for over 20 years and a long-time friend, so I'm going to abstain from the vote. That's all I have.
Councilman Anderson?
Yes, what is the need to having this open on Sunday?
Well, a lot of people do work during the week, and we found that having it open on Sunday would allow some people who might not be able to come in on the other days to allow that. The majority of the dispensaries that are presently open, that have opened on the coast, are pretty much all open on Sunday as well.
They couldn't come in on a Saturday?
I'm sorry?
They couldn't come in on a Saturday?
You know, it's just the idea of doing business, and, you know, the more hours we're open, the more that we can help people get the medication that they need. You know, generally pharmacies are open, 7 days a week, and this is very similar to what a pharmacy would be.
There has been days where I'd like to have a bottle of Jack Daniels on a Sunday, but I can't go get it.
I heard that.
So I do without it.
I think
Or get it on
the legislatures are working on that.
Or I get it on Saturday or a Friday or whatever, but
But that's a state mandate, and the state has allowed the dispensaries to open on
the
Sunday.
state has allowed it, but we have to allow it?
No.
Josh?
If it's a conditional use major, you can put conditional.
So we can put a stipulation in there that it would be closed on Sunday like a liquor store.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a problem with that?
I do, yes. because I think it would limit the availability and also the profit. And that basically is, you know, for the city, you know, their taxes, you know, that they would actually get from the.
Well, the availability is these people are going to have a card and they can go get it 6 days a week. The availability is there. And I'd be for it if you would limit your hours to not opening on Sunday.
Is that all your comments, Councilman Anderson?
Yeah, could I amend the motion?
Well, I think we should hear from everybody else.
Yeah.
Councilman College?
No comments.
Thank you. Councilman Gilat?
No comment.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes. So, this is the thing I have with it. Now, number one, it's right up above my community. I already got one there. And now I got a dispensary and a grow. That's what I'm thinking of. That's a lot. So now, and also the other thing that I have is that you can sell marijuana and they got a legal way to say it. All you gotta do is get that card, and it's easy to get the card. You just say, hey, I got a back pain, I got a muscle spasm, anything, you can get the card. And you can go right up the street and arrest someone for, if they got like, you know, they've been in trouble with marijuana 2 or 3 times, they get arrested. You know, that's the option that the judge has. And I'm not saying this to you, I'm saying this to this council board. So I just want them to understand, because this is what when I get done, I want to address this to this council board. So you can arrest these young men, most of us are young men that's right up the street. You catch them for them to, you know, in anything that they're smoking, and you can legalize it for someone else and just say, oh, just because they have a card, they smoking the same thing, they doing the same thing, but yeah, and it's serving the same purpose. And eventually this is going to be recreational, because this is just the introduction of it by going medical marijuana. Because if you follow it up on any other state that has approved this, if you follow it up, they started out with medical marijuana and then it becomes recreational. I don't have no problem with it, you know, because I mean, all of us, we know people smoking marijuana. This is not an issue. So it's not an issue that you open up your business and things like that. And I have no problem with marijuana itself. But this is the thing that I do have a problem, that is in front of my community, and people in my community, they're gonna get arrested. Police is gonna smell the marijuana in their car. It's gonna give them probable cause, and that's gonna give them probable cause to find other things, whatever it is they're trying to look for. Whether they just have a little roach in there or a bag of weed in there, that's gonna give them probable cause. And so, in prevention of this, are we gonna say, hey, we're gonna lower the penalties of the laws that we are pushing out there now, since you are legalizing it? Or are you just gonna say, no, we just gonna push this law, and if they get caught, everybody else get caught up, and they don't pay that doctor bill to get the medical card and so forth, about 300, I think it's end up about $300. If you don't get that, and you then hey, yeah, you suffer the penalties, because it's not hard to get this card. This card is not hard. Anybody can get it. All you gotta do is just claim you're in pain. Anybody can get this card. I can go get this card. Probably some of the members on this board are gonna get this card. So you know what I'm saying? So I'm just being realistic. So anybody can get this card. And the reason why I'm stressing this is because I see young men that I know that I see that, and they're gonna get tracked down. They're gonna get they're gonna get caught up, you know. And if they sell marijuana, they definitely gonna get a felony. But as long as you pay all these different taxation, you don't get the felony. You don't get the felony to do the same thing that these young men do in the streets. You don't get the felony. So that's where my problem and my dilemma is, because I don't want to see these young men getting felonies, going to prison, and that's a problem with me. But then when you got a person that's doing the same exact thing as they're doing, but you privileged because you went through the laws that allow you to do the exact same thing that they're doing. The exact same thing. And I'm putting this on this council board because that's my frustration, is that you can arrest our young men, but then allow someone else and then be comfortable with it and say, oh, it's okay. No, it's not okay with me because I'm going to stand strong and firm with it. If we're going to allow this person to do this, we're going to allow them to have a grow, and we're going to allow, I'm cool with it. I have no problem. But if you're going to allow them to have a grow right in my ward and allow them to have a dispensary right above my ward, then what preparations are we going to? I mean, I looked over the laws. We can change these laws. We can adjust them. And we can adjust these felonies. I looked it up. So are we going to adjust in preparation for the future that is to come, to protect the future of our youth that are getting jammed up in situations like this? Are we going to protect them, or are we going to sit here and say, no? Because we fighting this in legislature up in Jackson right now. And are we going to sit there and say, no, we're going to just, whoever go to jail and they don't get the card, they go to jail. No, we're going to keep fighting this because this is a problem. We're not going to allow someone else to say, hey, just because you got a card, you get away with it. So that's what I'm going to push for, is that we change that law that put penalties on these young men if you're going to sit here and have marijuana anyway, they're smoking the same stuff. Because right now, and I'm gonna close on this, because I'm not gonna take up your whole time. I'm gonna close on this because I just want to see. I hope y'all have questions for me. I'm gonna close on this. So, if we're gonna allow this to take place, I'm with it. But again, that felony needs to drop. Those charges, the penalties needs to drop, so that it will be prepared for the future of what is to come when dealing with this medical marijuana, which will soon be recreational. I have no more questions. I have no more to say.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. Councilman George?
No comment.
I would like to amend the motion as read to limit the hours of operation as read with the exception of Sundays.
To what?
I would like to amend your motion as read with the hours of operation as read with the exception of no operation on Sunday.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. A motion to amend, limiting Sundays, everything else stays the same. We have a second. We vote on the regular first motion, amendment first. All in favor?
Including the hours?
All we're voting on is to exclude Sundays from hours of operation.
That's all we're voting on right now.
Okay.
We have a motion. Who's voting? Two.
I'm not out.
Councilman Elvin, are you-
Councilman,
I abstain.
Hey, Councilman College, hey.
you're voting to not allow it on Sundays, or to allow it on Sundays? We're voting on an amendment.
The motion was to not allow it on Sundays, correct?
Well,
The amendment.
The amendment that wasn't the planning commission's recommendation or the original motion.
Okay, so, but this amendment was to cancel it on Sundays, correct?
Yeah, to not allow it.
Not allowed on Sundays? I'm fine with that. Hey,
So you're voting in favor of the amendment? Okay.
yes.
Oppose?
3-3.
It's 3-3, so it fails. So let's vote on the original motion. All in favor? Councilman College?
So this is the motion to
Hey.
the conditional use matter.
Okay, so it was Councilman College, Councilman George, Councilman Gilat, and myself vote A, Councilman Elbin abstain, and who nays? Councilman Jackson and Councilman Anderson. Motion carries. That brings us to business. Ms. Dickerson, you got all the votes? Okay, thank you. That brings us to business. Thank you, Ms. Ron, for investing in our community. You live here on our waterfront and pay high taxes. You come to and attend our board meetings, and you are committed, and I know you'll do what's right for Gautier, and we appreciate you. So we're not last at something, we're on the move. That brings us to business agenda item number 4, authorization to acknowledge bids and award the contract for CCTV smoke testing and manhole inspection and reporting services related to sanitary sewer mains rehabilitation, College Park, Gallotville Road, and Valleywood subdivisions project to the lowest and best bidder, Suncoast Infrastructure, Inc., and the amount not to exceed $162,350 by Ms. April Stennett.
Yes, Mayor. As you know, this is part of the project around College Park, Gallotville Road, and Valleywood. This is the first part of that project with the CCTV and smoke testing that will basically inform the design going forward and what repairs, replacements, or lining of those sanitary sewer lines are necessary. This is to help decrease I&I in that area. We had 3 bids for this project. We received them on January 30th. Seymour performed a review of the bids, and they do recommend awarding the contract to Suncoast in the amount you mentioned.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stennett. Any public comments on business agenda item number 4? None. Do we have a motion by council to authorize to acknowledge the bids and award the contract for CCTV smoke testing, manhole inspection, and reporting services related to sanitary sewer mains rehabilitation, College Park, Gallotville Road, Valleywood project to the lowest and best bidder, Suncoast Infrastructure, and the amount not to exceed $162,350?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gilat. Any discussion, starting with Councilman Elvin?
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson?
No discussion.
Councilman College?
No comments.
Councilman Gilat?
No comment.
Councilman Jackson?
No comment.
Councilman George?
No comment.
All in favor? Councilman College?
Aye.
Motion carries. That brings us to business agenda item number 5, approval of the docket of claims transferring fees associated with cancellation of the 2023 Youth Baseball and Softball League by our city clerk, Ms. Teresa Montgomery. We all were provided this in our packet online. It's also online. So do we have any public comments? No public comments. Do we have a motion from council to approve the paid docket of claims transferring fees associated with cancellation of the 2023 Youth Baseball and Softball League?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Gilat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. Any discussion, starting with Councilman Elvin?
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson?
These are refund fees, refunds.
Yeah. They had prepaid or paid for registration, and then it's canceled because not enough people signed up to play.
Okay.
Some of it is being refunded, and others that want to participate are being transferred to Pascagoula so that they can participate in that.
Okay, I see. That's all.
Councilman College?
No comments.
Councilman Gilat?
No comment.
Councilman Jackson?
No comment.
Councilman George?
No comment.
All in favor? Councilman College?
Aye.
Motion carries. That brings us to business agenda item number 6, approval of the docket of claims by our city clerk, Ms. Teresa Montgomery. We were provided them online. Also, they were sent to the board to review in your online packet. So they've been presented to us and to the public because they're online and available. Do we have any public comments? None? Do we have a motion by council approval of the docket of claims?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Gilat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. Any discussion, starting with Councilman Elvin?
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson?
No discussion.
Councilman College?
No comments.
Councilman Gilat,
No comment.
Councilman Jackson,
No comment.
Councilman George.
Nope.
All in favor? Councilman College?
Aye.
Motion carries. That brings us to our consent agendas. We approve them all in one motion unless somebody wants to remove one. Consent agenda item number 1, approval of the minutes from regular council meeting held February the 7th, 2023.
I want to remove the 11 and on 12, 13, just to get a better understanding of it. I think it's 11, 12, the one she called it, city manager, I apologize. 11, 12, 13.
Okay. Number 2, consent number 2, received January 2023 privilege license report. Consent agenda item number 3, authorization to enter into a grant subaward agreement with the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality for Mississippi Municipality and County Water Infrastructure Grant Program for funding related to the citywide lift station upgrade projects. Consent number 4, authorization to enter into a grant subaward agreement with the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality for the Mississippi Municipality County Water Infrastructure Grant Program for funding related to a sanitary sewer main rehabilitation project. Consent number 5, authorization for placement of 3 temporary speed bumps. I would like to pull that. Consent number 5. Consent number 6, approval of a non-exclusive facility use agreement for Betty Davis Park. Consent number 7, approval of a request from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College for the use of 2 portable lights to be delivered on March the 6th and ending March 8th for security purposes during the JC Hispanic American College Family Fiesta Night. Consent agenda number 8, approval of software license agreement between PM, AM, HCM, and the Gautier Police Department. Consent number 9, approval of a resolution authorizing designated vehicles to be unmarked pursuant to the Mississippi Code Anointed 25-1-87. And consent number 10, approval of a non-exclusive facility use agreement with Diamond Dogs Softball Organization for Betty Davis Park. And that would be all. So do we have a motion to approve consent number 1 through 4 and 6 through 10?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Gilat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. All in favor? Councilman College?
Aye.
Motion carries. That brings us to consent agenda item number 5, authorization for placement of 3 temporary speed bumps by Ramona Morgan.
The request came for 3 temporary speed bumps, placed for 60 days in Hickory Hills. The first bump was to be placed between Stillwater and Piney. The second one was north of Magnolia Bluff. And the last one was north of Kingsley. We also are placing 2 speed bump ahead signs to caution any drivers in the area. I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Well, we appreciate them already being placed because our phone started ringing off the hook when they got placed asking where the speed bumps were. So
Are they placed?
the signs are placed.
The signs, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought the bump.
I was just curious how, because we had people, my concern, and I'm just going to reiterate this. One, Councilman Jackson had been requesting speed bumps since he's been elected, his very first term. He hadn't gotten them. Councilman George asked for speed bumps ever since he's been elected. Hadn't gotten them. I asked when I was councilman and was told we couldn't get them. Now we're getting them, and I'm just wondering how all of a sudden, after we've been telling citizens all these years we can't have speed bumps, that now we're able to get them, number one. Number two, how did we pick where they went first? Because these wards have been asking for them and needing them, and we tried what we call rumble strips, and they did not work. So I'm just concerned, but I'm also concerned about our public safety vehicles. Our fire trucks are old. They're not new. And they are going to have a hard time when they have to go over 3 speed bumps on one road responding to a call up there. And when they're delayed to a call because of having to slow down for the speed bumps and our insurance ratings go up, possibly could, or, you know, low profile vehicles with low profile tires. There's people up there with those that they're going to complain. Now, I understand we have a speeding issue, and I'm all in for us trying to resolve a speeding issue. But these speed bumps, I thought we went and bought 3 new ones, but I was informed today they're the ones that we used out at Bienville Orthopedic. And you can call the residents out there who called and asked us to have them removed. They were damaging their vehicles. And they were not speeding over them. They were going an average speed that they slowed down to go over them. They had low cars, like sports cars, that scrape the underneath of them. So I just want everybody to be aware that we are putting them there, and it's just for 60 days. So what are we going to do after 60 days when they're gone and they start speeding again? That's putting a lot of manpower out there, and it's damaging the road because you're having to screw into the road. Then when you unscrew them, we're just going to put asphalt, which then water's going to get into the patch and cause road deterioration. I just think we should really be considering alternative measures. I understand they're speeding, but we do now have some motorcycles, as you've seen, on the road, and I do think motorcycles, like in our sister cities, they do help lower speeding in residential areas, having a presence like that. So I know it's on the board, but I wanted to remind everybody, other wards, how are we going to have in place to address this? Where do they go after 60 days? Do they go to Ward 4? 60 days they come to Ward 3, 60 days they come to Ward 2, 60 days they go to Ward 1. I mean, it just seems to me, who's going to monitor and do all that recommendation to us where we need them the most, so we all get fair, you know, fair treatment with speed bumps?
If someone puts in a request to me, I can put it on an agenda, and then you all will vote on it.
Well, I can tell you, Richard's ward has been complaining since the day he was elected, and he can give you the road names, and there should be, they came to this council meeting requesting them. Bonita Road out there, they've requested them. When Chief Elbin was here, they came and stood at this podium and requested them. You know, they've requested them, so all them areas, Cambridge Squares requested them, Westgate's requested them, Seacliff has requested them. Every one of them's got to be on a list, I guess, and let's just go down the list. But I think we should look at other options, and then
I would be happy to look at other options.
when we have claims, you know, like the city manager, when I asked if the insurance was going to pay the claim, well, they're not. The citizen's going to have to prove they're not speeding. Well, we're not going to be there to prove they're not speeding. So, and you can get damage from a non-speeding over a speed bump. You can go ask all them people out there over Mr. Reeves and them at B&D Plastic and all those residents that requested it to be picked up.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
I don't know the whole process. I'm new to the council, but we had an influx of people in relation to that incident with a child. I don't know the whole story, but anyway, residents came to me, you know, describing the issue with kids on school buses and the high speeds that are in that location. So I submitted on their behalf through Clearwater for these speed bumps. It was brought to our attention that we had 12. So I would rather err on the side of people not liking the speed bumps than not doing anything and us have a child injured. So a temporary fix, will it slow them down a little bit? Hopefully. As far as the request throughout the city, I think it's a good idea towards trying to do something as opposed to, you know, what we've been doing in the past. Let's add something to it. So if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then we step back and adjust. But that request was submitted by me to Clearwater on behalf of the citizens up and residents up there in Ward 5.
And Councilman Elvin, I understand that, and I don't have an issue, and yeah, I think we need to resolve a problem and try to find a fix. But I also got to understand that the councilman of Ward 2 requested it when he was first elected, when you were sitting out here in Chief Bever's.
Well,
I don't know if it was in writing.
Well, let me say, you know, so I don't want like a temporary anyway. So I would rather something more permanent. So I understand the urgency of the situation for the incident occurred. So I'm not, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, argue or debate about who get it first, things like that. It's okay, but at the same time, I would like to get some, but I want them permanent.
Right, you don't want yours to
I don't want
remove.
mine to
Well, see, my request was for temporary.
Right. So I don't want a temporary, because that means that you're gonna dig a hole in the street, pull them back up. You see what I'm saying? You're gonna have to repair that.
I wish I could have gave you the ones out of Cambridge Square that we got rid of that were natural, but that's not possible.
Anyways, I just want us to be able to tell the other citizens that have been requesting them the protocol is all I'm saying, because they need to know the protocol.
Another thing, I can go and speak. Okay. All right. So another thing is the type of speed bump. I noticed, I don't know what type of speed bump they're saying, but somebody was trying to describe it to me. So, you know, I've seen some speed bump that's built like a ramp, you know, whereas the cars, when it won't do like Casey's saying, your car will ramp over it. Instead of it just being like boom, boom, you know, it'll have a,
Like in the college?
Yeah.
yeah, right. There you go. Like similar to the college, it just sort of lifts, you know. So, or if we're gonna do like drill downs, speed bumps, but they be built into a similar area. Yeah, right. That's it. Something like that. That's it. That's exactly it. So it's the one he's showing you. It's like it's built like a speed bump, but it comes to a hill. You understand what I'm saying?
It arches.
What he gonna show you?
Well, I just
It's more like a smooth hump.
You can still run
versus
over
the ones that we
moderate
have
speed.
now are
Right.
Not damage
up.
anything.
There
You
you
really
go.
have to, you can hit it, you know what I mean? Where this one is just, it's a smooth, kind of like, just like what's at the
Like a
college.
little hill.
Well, not just, if we can ask, Shanksy, if you could ask the police chief maybe in these other areas, if we could utilize the motorcycles to see if that helps any of that speeding, maybe that would help detour it and that might resolve our problem.
What about our speed sign that we got that we put up temporary locations? Is it still operable, chief?
Yeah, I believe so.
That seemed to work for on a temporary basis if we could keep it rotated around to these areas and light up these areas for, you know, a week at a time. Keep that thing mobile, keep it in our critical areas where we're having this problem, which is just about every major street in the town.
Councilman George, did you have anything?
You guys have pretty much covered it, and I spoke earlier, my thing is, I don't like the temporary placement and picking up moving somewhere else. I think that if we're gonna do it, we need to budget for it and buy more and place them and leave them. We looked at some signs, the ones that are solar powered that say your speed and they flash if you're speeding, but they're outrageously priced. Maybe a couple per year purchased. But yeah, I mean, I'm good with this motion, but I would prefer that we budget and, you know, buy them and keep putting them down and leaving them, if we're gonna go that route. If we're not gonna use speed bumps, then just forget it.
I've been asking for those kind with the solar, like Moss Point had.
Well, they're $5,000 a pole.
5,000 apiece, I would actually think
I know
that
it,
was
but I've been asking
better.
for them 8 years.
Well, I think that's the better option, just because I was telling him, they have one runs up by the state park in Gulf Shores, and I was walking a lot down through there and watching the vehicles, and it flashes and says, slow down, and it actually, you see people slowing down when they saw it, so.
It worked in Moss Point coming off that high-rise bridge.
So I actually think that's great if they are like $5,000 a piece to get the kind that really are effective. So you would have to just budget a couple every year or something to
Let's start
build them
with,
up.
start with 3. Let's try to get budgeted for 3 of them. We need
There
them.
should be grant money for that, am I correct?
From DOT.
Yeah, I was researching that myself.
Get grant money for everything else. I don't know why we couldn't get it for
Russell says
that.
no.
Okay, so do we have a motion authorized for placement of 3 temporary speed bumps on Ferry Point Road for 60 days?
So,
Motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Elbin. All in favor?
Hold on, I got a comment.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman College.
Hello, go.
Go ahead, Councilman College.
Yeah. All right. Well, so here's the thing that I've heard in the past, and I just want to make sure it's a legitimate argument, is the placement of speed bumps delays the response times of our first responders, which at the same time can increase the insurance rates for the residents of the city. Is that actually the case?
Yes.
Not actually the case, a possibility.
If we don't respond and get to them in that number or quota that they do that audit and we get our rating, when we were at the fire bureau, they told us, Mike Cheney did, about our insurance ratings. It's on our response times. It helps. That's in the calculation.
So does that work in response to temporary speed bumps, or is it, the reason I ask is because when we had the Martin Blood Bridge project going on, I asked for some temporary speed bumps along Catita, Grandview, and all that stuff to try to deter speeding, and it was not going to impact our insurance rating because it was temporary, because it was a bypass for that construction progress. This is not a construction situation here. This is more a request for speeding. So I want to make sure it's not going to impact our insurance rating and impact the tax and insurance, well, more or less the insurance of our residents in the city of Gautier because of 3 speed bumps on Grandview, or not Grandview, on Ferry Point. So that's what I want to make sure of.
If you're talking about fire rating affecting your insurance, there's a lot of prongs that go into your fire rating. Everything from...
Well, I'm just talking about response times. I'm talking about response times, whether it's ambulatory, police, fire, anything first responder wise.
Speak up, Josh, because he can't hear you.
You would have to delay that response time quite a bit. I don't think 3 speed bumps is going to slow us down enough to change our rating at all.
But here's the thing, if we're doing 3 speed bumps there, then we go to Ward 2, we go Ward 4, if we spread them all over the place, is there a chance that it's going to cause us impact? That's my question right there. If we're going to do temporary speed bumps all over the city, is there a chance that we're going to have an impact to our first responder rating?
It hasn't slowed our response down at the college or at Singing Rivers apartment complex or where's the other place?
Collegeville.
Yeah, the crossing at Ladner. That hadn't slowed us down, and they have several speed bumps in that area. That slowed
Okay,
our response down.
that was my main question right now. I wanted to make sure it was not going to affect the residents of the city as far as first responder response times and insurance rates. So if it doesn't, then I'm good. I'm all for it. All right, good deal. Thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor? Councilman College?
Aye.
Motion carries. Y'all let me know when the first car goes to the shop.
Well, if Martin Bluff Road would put our rates through the roof if that was the case.
Our consent agenda item number 11, approval to submit an application to the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund for additional restrooms at Town Commons Park by Miss April Stennett.
Yes, sir, this is for the most grant through the state. It's the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Program. We have a very quick turnaround for this grant. The first round is due next week, so we're attempting to put together multiple applications for this. After speaking to the program manager, I was told that There really wasn't a so-called sweet spot for the amount of funding that you need to be looking for, but he did suggest that if you go after smaller projects, multiple smaller projects, the sheer size of the project might not kick it out, that you would maybe have more of an opportunity. So that's why we chose to go after these 3 separate grant projects as part of that process. Also, informing that is the fact that we have to have a very clear scope of work and good budget numbers to go from for this. So we chose projects where we were able to get that together in time for this first round to allow the most competitive. There will be another round in May though, however.
That explanation will be the same for 12 and 13. Because we have to attach the resolution, we have to do a different resolution for each grant we were applying for under that.
Good.
Okay. Do we have a motion to submit an application to the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund for additional restrooms at the Town Commons Park?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second, is this just for 11?
Yeah, just for 11. All in favor? Councilman College? Aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda item number 12, approval to submit an application to the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund for concessions building at Town Commons Park by Ms. April Stinnett.
Yes, sir, all of the same information applies, but if you have any specific questions.
Any questions, Councilman? Do we have a motion to approve to submit the application to the Mississippi Outdoor Steward Trust Fund for concessions building at Town Commons Park?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Anderson. All in favor? Councilman College? Aye. Motion carries. That brings us to consent agenda item number 3, approval to submit an application to the Mississippi Outdoor Steward Trust Fund for the Bob Hayes Park Playground by Ms. April Stinnett. This is the same thing,
Oh, okay.
Mr.
No,
Jackson,
just
but
Yeah.
did you have any questions?
No questions. I just was pulling so we can explain them, that's all.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a motion to approve to submit the application?
Second, first, I mean.
A motion by Councilman Anderson. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Second by Councilman George. All in favor? Councilman College? Aye. Motion carries. Ms. Dickerson, Ms. Montgomery, y'all got all the votes? Wonderful, thank you. That brings us to our study agenda. We start with citizen comments. You can come to the podium right here, state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes. And Councilman Gilat is the timekeeper, so when it hits 3, I will cha-ching. Any citizen comments?
Could cha-ching when I got 15 seconds left.
Oh, okay.
No, you ain't started yet.
Well,
Okay, I got some items here. My name's Marty Whelan. I've been a Gautier resident for 18 years. Here's some items I want part of public. 1612 Bayou Vista. And I want these items part of the public record. Who do I need to give these to?
the city clerk.
All right, I can't get into all the details because I have 3 minutes, but this is about accessory structures. All started 7 years ago. My neighbor wanted to build a workshop in his backyard, 1,400 square feet. His house is 2,800 square feet. But he already had accessory structures, so he could only build 1,100 square feet. So the building was too big. Technically, he should not have built any more accessory structures because he also had a pool, which is considered an accessory structure. So I went to the planning commission, and Torgerson really pushed this. They said, okay, we'll allow it. There was no variance. They just allowed it. Then it went to city council, and they allowed it 4-3. Now, 4 of you on the board now know about it, 3 of you don't. But I want you three that don't know about this to read those documents I just turned in. I want the other four to review it. So when Vintage, my neighbor, went to the planning department to get a permit, Scott said no, 4 different occasions. No, you cannot build it. It exceeds the square footage. And Economic Director Nicholson wrote a memo to Josh Danos, which at the time was interim city manager, to recommend that city council affirm staff decision not to allow Mr. Vintage to exceed maximum lot coverage by accessory building. City council chose to allow Vintage to build the building. So Scott did his job, Ms. Nicholson did her job as staff members of the city. And it's the politicians that overruled it. So for 6 years I've been fighting this. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, Mississippi Supreme Court. They ruled in my favor. Sent back to Chancery Court. He sent it back to the city. So what I'm getting at is I want you three that don't know about this to ask questions. Ask Danos why he allowed this to happen. Mr. Coolidge, when the vote was taken, Mr. Galat said, we can't do this, we're going to get sued. Mr. Vaughn said, well, hold on now, we just took the vote, it's over with. And Mr. Coolidge, you said, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The thing is, Mr. Coolidge, you were at the foot of the bridge 6 years ago, and you failed to do your job. So did you, Mr. Anderson. So,
You got 30
I just want the
seconds,
city
Mr. Whelan.
to do their job. That's it. Politicians, stay the hell out of it. That's why citizens are so pissed off. And it's not in my DNA to quit. I will work with the city. But if I have to keep hiring an attorney or keep my attorney fighting it, he'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, now this is from Judgment Remaining Matter. Pursuant to the directive of the Supreme Court of Mississippi in the Whelan v. City of Gautier and David Vintage, the City of Gautier's order granting building permit to David Vintage is hereby vacated.
Thank you, Mr.
I'd
Whelan.
like the building removed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? And just so y'all know, we legal, and Mr. Whelan knows that we're not responding to him on purpose. He knows I've already asked the legal counsel, and it's a legal matter still going on with Mr. Danoff. So our attorney advised us that none of the board could comment. So I don't want y'all to think we're ignoring Mr. Whelan, because I did speak to him and told him that we would ask.
And I disagree with that because the legal matter is over. The Supreme Court made the ruling.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments?
Good job.
Okay, that brings us to city council comments. We start with Ward 5 because it's the second meeting of the month. Councilman Elvin?
Last meeting, I brought up the issue of the sidewalks up there on Lark Drive across from that lot that's being, or has been cleared. Do we have an update on, are those, because I'm looking at it driving home, and it looks like if they're not broke, they're kind of sinking on one side. Have we researched that? And
Yes, sir. The Clearwater's been out, the sidewalk themselves are not, they're fine.
Okay.
Haven't been compromised in any way. Apparently, I think when some of the utility trucks are going into where they cleared that lot on Lark, they're turning way too wide, and they've created that rut. I've talked with Clearwater about it. We were out there again today to look at it, to see all the different areas of Martin Bluff that have that rut between the sidewalk and the road, and we're gonna get some sort of fill to put into those to make sure that the road stay, that, you know, if somebody goes off the road, there's not a red there.
Can we hold the contractor responsible for that? I mean, we're having to fill up their
Contractor
damages.
on Mark?
Yeah, that's who he's asking.
I don't know, because I mean, we didn't see him do it. That's just my assumption based on the way that.
The mud's
everything
slowing,
looks.
crossing the road, yeah.
But there's other areas on Martin Bluff where trucks have gone way too wide, or cars themselves, and I mean, technically, they're supposed to stay between the white lines, and that's clearly not within the white line. But we will fill it, because it's in our right of way, to make sure that, you know, everybody's safety.
Missing them speed bumps.
I will say that would, just from my perspective, be very difficult to prove as well, because when we were building those projects, I was out there a lot, I was on that side a lot, and there was a lot of activity and a lot of different types of large vehicles and large trucks, and it just happened that there were some other utility things going on that road at the time as well, so I was seeing a very steady stream of different contractors and subs for different projects and vehicles of different size out there, and we're seeing them
On the
pretty good.
same topic though,
Yeah.
if they were to be damaged by large trucks, who's responsible?
Yeah.
You'd have to be able to actually see them do it.
Does the camera that's there maybe pick it up, or no? The DA's camera? And that other camera won't, it's not far enough, it's too far up for the other one to get it.
Ms. Ramon, we also spoke in reference to the traffic lights, I mean, the street lights there and that dark curve.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you addressing that. If you could send me just a quick email or CC the city manager on where they're at on that.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you for spearheading the speed bump issue for me, getting signs out there. Frontage roads, I've already spoke to you in reference to those ruts. If, I think we can address that with Phil, you said?
Yes, sir.
In reference to the Martin Bluff Road, I saw a text this week in reference to us being highlighted, the council is taking, I guess, well, not so much the council, but the contractors not being out there during the week on sunny days. I know they gave an explanation. Is there any way that we can get a draft from them in reference to their tentative timeline and post it on our site as to what they're doing and why they're not out there on certain days?
Well, it's kind of like Mr. Craig and told you before, because it's a working day contract, it's almost impossible to project that out, but they, at the end of those working days, that is their time. And the city can't tell them their methods or means, so it's kind of like when we were in a different meeting, they said they wanted to wait until the last day to go, and it was impossible, but go in and they got it all done, then they've met their contract, and that's how this MDOT contract works.
Well, like what you just said to me, can that be posted on social media where the public can understand?
We can post he can give me his slide from his PowerPoint.
I mean,
We
something.
can post that on social media. You remember what I'm talking about, the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Something where they can see it for themselves.
Yes, sir. We can do that.
Again, as usual, thank you, public safety and the employees of the city for making it happen each day. Thank you for all y'all do. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Elvin. Councilman Anderson?
Oh, yes. Have we looked into yet asking the MDOT about placing some flashing signals approaching the 57 intersection with Highway 90? Because there's a lot of people getting this stretch between here, 57, and they exceed the speed limit excessively a lot of times. And by the time they get to 57 Highway, there's a signal light there, and everybody should be able to see it, but there's been near misses of accidents at that intersection. And I asked a few months back about looking into us getting some kind of a flashing, MDOT putting a flashing signal light up. You know,
You mean in advance?
alerting you that you're coming up on a signal light.
That is fixing to change.
Yeah.
They have them up,
In lots of areas.
Yatville High School, up on
Yeah.
67, and several other places that have them.
It's just to give these six speeders a time to slow down for the intersection.
Give the Inglewood's a chance to
Yeah,
slow
the
down.
ship fitter 500.
Ms. Yancey just asked Public Works Director to request that from NDOT.
Okay. Thank you, Martin Bluff Road. There's been several nice days in the last 2 weeks that seemed to me they could have worked on the Martin Bluff Road project and they pulled their equipment off the piers and went somewhere else. And looking at the weather forecast for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, look like we're gonna have some nice weather, and I'm just afraid of them. Are they gonna be gone over this next 2 weeks? With this nice weather, is it legal for us to contact them and say, hey, when you coming back?
Like I told Mr. Councilman Elbert, you know, we cannot dictate to them. They get charged a working day if they can work.
I understand that.
But we cannot make them work. That is, it's a working day contract, and how, when and how they work is pretty much up to them. Mr. Craig, am I?
The only thing I would add to that is, we have regular meetings with them, with your city staff, us, and the contractor. We'll have one tomorrow, and their day count is on the agenda. I mean, we're going to talk about their progress. So I can't answer when they're going to be there. That's, you know, I can tell you that our inspectors are out there. We're making inspections. Exactly like you know, Ms. Paula just said. If it's a day that they can work, we're charging them a working day.
Well, they could possibly be gone for 2 weeks. They could possibly be gone for a month at this point in time. Are they going to maintain the cuts and the damages and the washouts from rain and this, that, and the other? Because it's a pretty rough situation right now on some of it.
It's their obligation to maintain the site. So yes, sir. I mean, if there's an issue, then you know they're. I don't know the nicest way to say this. It's their responsibility to take care of their site. It's their site until you got to take it out.
Well, I drove through there about 25 miles an hour, and it's pretty banging on my truck, and I got a big old heavy truck. A small car, I can imagine how it feels in a small car. I see them going through there 50 and 60, like the other day. I couldn't believe it. A guy in a new pickup truck was deliberately trying to tear it up. But could we, you all watch it and then ask them to come fix it as necessary?
We'll make sure that gets brought up at the meeting in the morning.
Thank you. So I don't have to do it? Appreciate it.
We'll ask. I can't promise anything beyond that.
Okay. That's all I got.
Councilman College?
Yeah, two comments. First one is, my last name is pronounced College. Second one is, yeah, it seems like I drove down Old Fort Bayou Road earlier this week to check on a project, and lo and behold, who was the contractor on that one? The same one as was for Martin Bluff Road. And lo and behold, the construction site looked exactly the same. So it seems to be an MO. We just need to keep hold of these contractors, let them understand that there will be LDs if they don't make it, if they don't complete the project by the time frame. That's the biggest thing right there. Hey, liquidated damages, you're going to have it. Finish it on time, be done. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Gillott?
Councilman Anderson had asked that the lights be added on 90 or 57 going. If we're going to ask MDOT to put them, I think we ought to see if they would do it for 57 coming south towards 90. Because then people coming off that interstate, they ain't going slow.
Is that us or
And you get to that curve right there before you get to the light, so it's, if we're going to put them caution lights, huh?
Come out, putting them on 57 and on
And
90.
90, yes, just add, when you talk to them, ask them to do both of them.
I don't see why Ocean Springs side wouldn't be the same coming east.
Well, that's the city of Ocean Springs. I'm worried about the city of Gautier.
Well, it's a MDOT, they don't,
Anything else, Councilman?
That's all. Oh, I have speed bumps in my neighborhood. I don't need them anymore.
Thank
Yours are natural.
you. Thank you.
They are.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes, well, I don't have much. I figured out why the lights were on at night doing at Baycott, because I've been going out there cutting the lights off. The basketball court lights cut off early. They cut off at like 8:30. I guess it didn't sync with the
Time change.
time change, exactly. That's pretty much all I have, and I apologize for dressing like I am because I was working and I went straight here. I came straight from work here, so that's why I'm like that now.
Ask College what he looks like.
Oh,
He's on a float somewhere.
okay.
Is that?
That is all.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson, and we're glad you were able to make it. Councilman George?
I'm sure everybody in this room knows, but recently we had a groundbreaking for the Sound Amphitheater here in Gautier. It's part of a very large, very exciting project that we have that our city staff, Ms. Paula and April, and everybody's worked very hard on this for many years, and we are so close. Expecting completion by April 2024. Hopefully ticket sales go out Ticketmaster by August of this year. We have an excellent partner, Mr. Nathan Ball, who owns 46 Entertainment. He's going to be doing our show booking and our marketing, management of that site. So really, I know you're reading the news, you get mixed reviews and comments, and a lot of people are burned for, not really false news in the past, but some stuff that hasn't really come to fruition as we expected. But this is real and this is happening. It's going to be a great thing for Gautier. And I really look forward to being able to see a concert 5 minutes from my house versus driving all the way to Orange Beach. But it was a very professional, very nice event. If you have a chance and haven't seen it, go on our Facebook page. Or it's actually the Sound Amphitheater's Facebook page. There was a drone footage video shared about that day, and you'll be able to see what kind of event was put on. It was very impressive. Trade winds and Dolphin, the crossing with the giant hole I could fit a car in. I know we're waiting on asphalt, but is there something we can do to fill that hole until we get asphalt? Because apparently the asphalt's not coming quickly.
Yes, I talked to Clearwater about it, and they're gonna put some bill in it.
Okay, because the thing we even put out there, the cone, it's even been ran over now. So they're savages, okay?
It's a median, you're not supposed to drive
Oh,
across
no,
it.
but we do need to, that median crossing is too small. It needs to be widened. So when we do the asphalt, if we can just, I don't know if it's that easy to just make it wider. There's a ton of people that live waterfront down there. They have boat trailers behind their trucks. And when they come out of trade winds and turn, unless that turn's wide enough, it's gonna go off in the grass even after we pave and clean it up. So I recommend that we do that. The red lights, I don't know if this is something new or if I'm just now noticing, but westbound on 90, Old Spanish, and then down when you get to 57 going south during get off work hours, it's really backed up. I know there was an email that went out, somebody on the council had said something about that.
But I got a comment, the citizen, well, several of them called me and complained, and everybody, the chief, all of them were getting MDOT to look into them, and I was headed to work one morning and MDOT was out there and they said they were gonna look at all of them, and the citizen sent me a message back saying he was very impressed that they got whatever they did, it seemed to be working, but they could have gone back to not working. I got a compliment that they were working again, so.
I haven't been westbound since Wednesday of last week.
Yeah,
And I
it
know
was a
it took
compliment
me-
after that.
Okay, because it took me 30 minutes to get from in front of the Kangaroo on Highway 90 to Old Spanish Trail. 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's taken a long time, but like I said, the compliment came, so I don't know if MDOT got it fixed.
Okay.
Westgate has complained about their light, just sitting there, they're sitting and people are running it because they're sitting there for like 5+ minutes waiting for it to turn.
throw the bright lights on them and they'll change.
Singer River Academy,
Huh.
right?
Yeah, so I don't know if, have we,
I thought we fixed those.
Yeah, Singing River has been repaired.
Has it?
Yes, sir. And the one on.
thank you, David.
Is that the one, one of them needed a bigger control panel box. So I'm not sure, I'll have to go back at my notes
I
and
can't
look.
remember if that was Northwood or Westgate.
Okay. But I've been in
One of them
contact
did.
with Keith Powell, and, I mean, they've been working on it every time.
Now, you did that one, that's Baywood Commons who needs that
Okay.
piece you're talking about.
Right. This is, I'm not talking about the additional turn signal.
Oh, okay.
They're still looking into that, whether or not we need the control panel.
The loop, okay.
Upgraded.
I guess if we can just monitor them, I got a compliment that they were fixed, but that was after that, but they could be broken again, so I guess.
Somebody, a citizen called me right after
Yeah.
they worked on them and sent me an email telling me, thank you, they were working much better.
Yes, so
So I don't,
they could have broke again, we need to, if we can check on them again.
You know,
Anything else,
that
Councilman
area right
George?
there is bad because it's only a 2-lane road.
Yeah, it's horrible. And it congests
All
onto a
these
1 lane.
subdivisions in Gulf Park Estates, so it's just a huge amount of traffic trying to go through this little 2-lane road.
The 2 lane that turns into 1 lane if you're going south. It's bad. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Councilman George. I just as echo what Councilman George said, the groundbreaking turned out nice. Unfortunately, it had to be moved to weather and our legislatures could not be there, but they were very supportive of the event and thanked us for that. I also want to thank the city staff everybody for the Mardi Gras. Unfortunately, it did rain on our parade pre-tailgate, but the weather turned out very nice for the parade, but cold. But our police department, our public works, Chastity Recreation was out there with me. Yes, I was out there with them in the rain. We were moving barricades and working. So Chastity came from home that morning to accommodate, to try to make it so we had something. All y'all's hard work didn't go unnoticed. We didn't have any complaints of anything, to my knowledge. It all pulled off fine. Am I correct, Chief?
Yes, no arrest.
No arrest. So we were blessed and fortunate, and the men's club, we want to thank them for hosting it. They bragged on it. They recognized us. Councilman College and I did give the award at the American Legion, and we did judge. And they were very complimentary of all of our staff and our support, and they look forward to growing. They already got ideas for next year. They already voted that they would host it again next year, so they're ready to start working on it now and not wait till later. So as you can see, the Mardi Gras, I want to wish everybody a happy Mardi Gras, and if you're Catholic or Methodist, whatever religion, remind everybody Ash Wednesday is tomorrow. So get your ashes if you need to get them, don't forget. But once again, we were blessed. I was fortunate to attend. I want to give kudos to our police department. I heard accolades from the chiefs and the other mayors. I was fortunate to get a photo with the police chief in Ocean Springs with one of our officers who was working. But we supported all of Jackson County's municipalities that had Mardi Gras festivities with our 2 new motorcycles. And they did look great, and they did a good job representing us, and it's good to be in the game, not out of the game. And our officers felt that. You could sense their positivity about it, and they all got a warm welcome at our sister cities. So I want to thank all of y'all for partnering with them and helping, and when we need help, they will come to us, I know. It was nice as the mayor. I represented the city of Gautier at the Pass Christian Parade. The mayor over there invited all the mayors on the coast, along with some of the mayors from the Mississippi Municipal League Conference, to attend their festivities this past Sunday. They had a great day. We had mayors all across the state down here on the coast visiting. Some visited our own community, passing through, and did stop at one of our businesses and complimented us. So you never know when you have people that are here visiting to go back and share with their communities. And it literally was a blessing to hear the positive. We do have a lot of positive going on here in Gautier. I want to remind everybody of that. I know we have some bumpy roads. Infrastructure is not, like we continue to say, not pretty and sexy, but we got to have it done. It's great to have a growing pain where you're having to struggle to find a place for a business to go because we just do not have the building. So if you know anybody who wants to invest, we have commercial property available, and we're got tax incentives available. See our city manager and she'll be glad to accommodate you. Do we have any, also I want to remind everybody, Gautier Pride, Community Pride, they presented myself at their monthly meeting. Ms. Yancey, it's right down there. If you hold it up, that was the Mullet Fest art winner. That's the framed piece of art, and they presented it at the Gautier Pride monthly meeting to the city to place here at City Hall. So we thank the Gautier Mullet Festival and Gautier Community Pride for that. Also, Gautier Community Pride has a small business beautification grant they're doing. You can go to their Facebook page if you're a business owner, and you can get a $500 grant. It's about beautification. They're trying to entice businesses to beautify their storefront. You can use it from anything from landscaping to public art to improvements of any sort, pretty much. And it's a simple application, not too formal. So go to their Facebook page and they've got the application there. That's all I have. Our city manager, Ms. Yancey, do you have any comments?
Yes, sir, I have one thing. I think you all have a copy. I have a resolution to send to the county requesting your participation in the amount of $600,000 for the Town Commons Park and Theater Project Professional Services. This is normally what we do under House Bill 35. I'll send it to the county and then it's up for their board for approval. So I need a motion and a second on that, please.
Do we have a motion to approve the resolution of the City of Gautier, Mississippi to request approval from the Jackson County Board of Supervisors for funding associated with the Town Commons Park Amphitheater Project and professional services?
So moved.
And the amount of $600,000, House Bill 35.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Anderson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gilat. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Councilman College?
Aye.
Motion carries. That brings us, anything else, Ms. Yancey? That brings us to our city clerk comments. Ms. Montgomery, do you have anything? Deputy Clerk Dickerson, Ms. Dickerson, you have anything? That brings us to our city attorney comments. Mr. Dennis, do you have anything?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Oh, I was getting nervous.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Okay. Well, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Do we have a motion to adjourn until March 7th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m.? A motion by Councilman George, a second by Councilman Gilat. Any discussion? All in favor? Councilman College?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned. Chief Pepper.